Hi friends, and welcome back to a Friday episode of Mommy's on a Call, where I'm going to be doing a little bit of a pep talk or behind the scenes series of what's going on in my life or interesting things that I come across. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Mommy's on a Call, your sacred space to laugh, learn, and feel like a real grown-up human for a hot minute. I'm Stephanie Uchima Carney, a mom of 3 under 6, serial entrepreneur, business strategist, and donut connoisseur, just trying to get through the day one cold cup of coffee at a time. I believe that with more intention, a positive mindset, and self-care, it is possible to thrive in motherhood, business, and life. My mission is to uncover the daily rituals, life lessons, real-life tactics, and favorite tools to inspire and empower you, mommy, to get the most out of life every single unpredictable day. So grab your headphones, tell your kids you're on the potty, and tune in weekly for some laughs, knowledge bombs, and plenty of real talk with real moms, and maybe a dad or two. Welcome to the Mommy Pod. So this is going to be a little bit off the cuff and not structured because I wanted to share some takeaways I just had with a health coaching session. So as you may have heard on the podcast, I'm currently doing health coach training through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And as part of my training, we have to do what's called health history sessions, where you go through the background and history of a potential client. And in this case, I've been doing it a lot with other IIN students and friends, but I will be opening it up to everyone else very shortly. During these health history sessions, we go through your health and wellness goals, your background, just kind of situations of what's going on to start to get to know where in your personal health and wellness journey you are and where you're trying to go. And today I'm coming to you a little raw, like directly after I did one with another student. And this time we did a trade. And so she was my health coach. And it was so interesting, the things that she pointed out, and I thought I'd share them. So the first thing is when she read my health history, she goes, "Oh my goodness, like you are like, go, go, go. You do all the things. Like, how do you find time to do anything? And you have all these young kids." And she was almost overwhelmed by my own health history because of all the things I did. And that was my first red flag of, whoa, Stephanie, if someone could read that on a piece of paper, how does that come across in real life? And I realized a lot of people say that to me. You do so much. You're always so busy. And I hate the word busy, and I try not to say I'm busy, but yeah, I am. Like I'm overbooked, I'm overcommitted, and I'm always rushing, and I'm always doing all the things. And it's funny because then I realized from that, when she said that, she was asking me like, how do you feel? And the first thing that came out was, I'm extremely frustrated. And I think I shared this last week, but like, I'm really frustrated because, I'm behind on doing everything. I'm always feeling like I'm one step behind, and I'm just frustrated. And she was like, how can we get out of that? And I literally said, I don't know. And she's like, I think you need to like pause, just stop for a moment, pause. And I know that's really hard. And it sounds like it'd be really hard for you because you're always go, go, go. But what if you just paused for a moment? And on top of that pausing is having self-compassion and accepting the situation. And I thought that was really interesting because I've been learning all these things about health and self-love and de-stressing, and it's something that I promote, and it's something that I've been interviewing people all about the podcast. That is what this podcast was about, is to interview all of these moms that I seem to be doing all the things and doing it all and building successful businesses, and they're experts in their field, they're publishing books. And like, how does the behind the scenes look? Like, what does it look like for every single one of them? Because I was curious, like, I want to do all these things. Like, do they have help? What do they leave messy? What are their self-care practices? Because I was just a sponge for information. I was curious and I wanted to learn. And what I realized through all of this is like, we all have such different situations. And the hardest thing for me has been self-compassion, being compassionate towards myself, that it is okay to pause. It is okay that I'm not doing it all. It is okay to accept that I have young kids. And every time someone would say, wow, I can't believe you're doing this. You have like a 2 and a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And at the time that I started the podcast, I had like literally a newborn in arms, and everyone would tell me like, you have young kids. Like, how are you doing this? And in my head, I'm like, well, if other people can do this that I'm interviewing, like, why can't I? And I forgot that the biggest piece of this puzzle that I was missing was the actual compassion towards myself. I was being so hard on myself and I was getting frustrated. The funniest part is I didn't feel overwhelmed or stressed, and it might come across as sounding stressed right now, but I'm not. I'm actually pretty calm, and I've learned through my practices how to stay calm through a lot of things and how not to feel overwhelmed and how not to feel stressed. But the thing that I was missing the most was a part of being nice to myself and being compassionate. And I'm not talking self-love, because I understand that and I love myself. But I have so much that I want to give that I always forget that I need to actually give to myself. Outside of self-care, outside of all of the things that I teach and I preach and that I believe in and the things that I do. The thing that she asked me today on our call was, you have all your practices in place. You have your routines. You seem to have all of these tools and tactics on how to manage stress and how to schedule things and how to do your morning routine. You seem to understand, diet and nutrition and movement and everything. You get it all. But what is that missing piece? Because it sounds like you're still frustrated with not feeling the best that you could. And that's where the piece of self-compassion came into play. She was right. I was doing all the things. I was doing everything that we said we needed to do in order to achieve my goals, but I wasn't being nice to myself. Instead, I was just getting frustrated with, I'm doing all these things and why isn't it happening? And I think I realized that happened not just with my health and wellness, but like business. I kept getting frustrated that I saw other people who started when I did, or who started a podcast when I did, getting thousands and thousands more downloads than me, or making millions in their business, or taking off and doing all these things. But what I forgot to look at is the time and place in my life and the season of motherhood I'm in. I have young kids, and I forget that sometimes with young kids, they need different things than, say, having all 3 kids in elementary school, or having 3 teenagers, or being an empty nester. A lot of the women that I've interviewed on the podcast, the ones that are able to do a lot of these things, not only have a lot of help, or who have a stay-at-home significant other, also have kids that are older and who are more capable. And yes, having older kids doesn't mean it's any easier. It just means that the things that you're able to do are different. So whether it's more time during the day because they're at school, or whether it's they're more capable of, going to the bathroom without having to wipe their butt like my 2-year-old. And the physical demands of younger kids is more than when you have more capable older kids. And I think I compare myself too much and think that I could do the exact same things. And I realized that when talking about self-compassion, she asked me a question like, okay, if you can feel compassionate to yourself, what is still the block? What is still stopping you? And for me, I realized that every time that I felt like I was saying, oh, but I have young kids, I felt like it was an excuse versus reality. And I felt like I was making excuses, even though they weren't, even though they are true reality. I only have limited amount of time, limited amount of childcare, 3 kids, etc. I thought I was making excuses to people on why I couldn't do anything, when in reality, I was just making excuses to myself to cover up for all of that instead of accepting. So I think the lesson here learned from my personal call today, and I don't know if moms you can relate to, where you feel like you're doing all these things, but you're still frustrated, or that you think that you're implementing all of these, working out and doing stuff for yourself, but you still feel this thing in your stomach that like, why? And like, why are you still frustrated? Maybe it's that you need to be more self-compassionate to yourself, because I know that's apparently what I need. And to just pause. It's so hard for me to stop and pause. But I realize that by me going, I'm now showing my kids that this is the way of life. And I realize like that's not what I want to show my kids. So I think the things that I'm going to try working on are, one, accepting my situation and that accepting that it's reality and that it's not an excuse. Two, having a little bit more compassion to myself when I'm not achieving things that I think I should be achieving or that I want to be achieving, to really look at the situation and have more compassion towards it. And thirdly is to pause. I might be overscheduling my kids, overscheduling myself. And it's a pattern that I've had in the past. So why do I want to push that upon my kids too? So moving forward, what I want to do is to reassess, sit down, figure out where my priorities are, where our priorities as a family are, what is important to us, and pausing to take that moment to really look on where my needs are, where others' needs are, my kids, my relationships, and just sit down and really map that out. I don't think I've taken the time to really look at that. So I hope this can help at least one mom out there. And even if you're not a mom, just helping you be more compassionate towards yourself, be more accepting of your situation, and learning that it's okay to take a pause and take a breath. I hope you have a wonderful Friday, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Mommy's on a Call. Your support means the absolute world to me. You can find the show notes for this episode and other goodies over at mommysonacall.com. And if you enjoyed this episode or have gotten value from the podcast, I would be so grateful if you could head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review so that we can reach and empower more moms all over the world together. Thank you so much again, Mommy Pod, and I will see you here next time.